Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm Henry Higgins III and this is my spoiler-free review of Thunderbolts. This is the second of three MCU movies being released this year, and it probably has the least overall stakes for the studio, Marvel slash Disney. By that I mean Cap 4 had it being the first outing with Anthony Mackie, Sam Wilson headlining, while Fantastic Four entering the Marvel Cinematic Universe it's a huge deal. It's arguably on equal footing with the X-Men coming in, which we've seen sporadically having them sprinkled in, but not fully coming over yet. And Fantastic Four are coming over in July. Fantastic Four has had 3 attempts at silver screen glory, though the Roger Corman effort, I would argue, only kind of counts. Was made just to keep the rights. It was never intended for release. Of the ones that were intended for release, I actually enjoyed the Tim Story films, and I really loved the costume they had for Doctor Doom in that first Tim Story Fantastic Four film. Thought visually they did a really good job of that. While Silver Surfer stole the sequel, that chase sequence between Silver Surfer and Human Torch remains a highlight of that entire duo of movies. And I even found elements to love in the Josh Trank 2015 film. Though I felt it could have explored the body horror elements a bit more, and it definitely had a lot of flaws. Biggest among them was how they translated Doctor Doom. So the MCU finally getting a swing at the first family of Marvel, the Fantastic Four. It is a big deal, but at the moment we're getting ahead of ourselves. Thunderbolts finds itself in a relatively enviable position of having lower expectations going in, with a cast of B-level MCU characters, B-level at best, MCU characters leading the charge, and the inevitable comparisons to DC's Suicide Squad and MCU's own Guardians of the Galaxy are obvious. It's hard not to do a comparison. That's why I mentioned it was inevitable. It's a group of ragtag people coming together and finding how they work better as a group and find a found family. And found family is such a strong story in fiction in general. So, while there were low expectations, the various trailers that had been released had me hyped for what could be served up. And let me tell you, right away, they did not disappoint. First off, the MCU fanfare opening logo was a thing of beauty, and how they tweaked it for this movie. While there is an opening scene hallway fight that is shot and it's lit in such a way that not only does it foreshadow, no pun intended, visuals from later in the movie, it really is done in such a way that the A24 like claims from the admittedly nod and wink pure cinema trailer, they became fully justified. Thunderbolts also doesn't waste any time in getting into the action and introducing our ragtag band of anti-heroes. With that also being an epic set piece, an epic action set piece, with the various talents of Taskmaster, Ghost, Walker, and Yelena all on full display. And this, of course, kicks into motion and sets up the entire plot of the film as we are introduced to Bob. Bob is played wonderfully by Lewis Pullman, son of Bill Pullman, and obviously the viewing audience knows who Bob is destined to become, but the way it's teased to the group who don't know this, the way it's teased to them is amazingly well done. Visually, tonally, it's excellent, and it really does set up so much for the third act of the movie. Seeing Ava Starr also return after last being seen in Ant-Man and the Wasp, this time in control of her powers. That was a delight. John Kamen doing an excellent job there, while Julia Louis-Dreyfus as Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, she returns from various MCU projects and brings her own brand of snark, really adding to the overall ensemble of the movie. The story, while basic at heart, is told in a compelling manner, with the various characters having to face their pasts to be able to move on to their futures. While the visuals, from the special effects to the fight choreography, they are up there with the best the MCU has had to offer in the past. Like seriously, just to touch on one thing is teased in the trailer, the way they envisioned the Void, both the literal personification of the Void played by Bill Pullman and the mental Void. It's such a simple thing as a concept, but it's mind blowing in action. It really is stunning to see on the big screen. Touching on that, another thing the film does exceptionally well is conveying mental health issues in a way that doesn't make light of the trauma all of these characters have gone through, and in some cases are still going through. The MCU has had a habit of making everything a joke, to a degree, and it would have been so easy for them to fall into that here, and for the most part they don't. And when it comes to Bob's forms as both Sentry and the Void, this is more literally splashed on screen. But Yelena also gets some fantastic scenes. She's like the main focal point of this element of the movie, and Florence Pugh's acting talent just shines through so much in these moments. But as a whole, Thunderbolt is definitely a bridge movie, and I feel that it will be one that will be looked back on as more than its whole further down the line, much in the way that Avengers Age of Ultron set so much in motion for future events that at the time they weren't abundantly clear. And it's only in hindsight that Age of Ultron has been reassessed and reevaluated. And I feel this movie falls into that category, while still being an excellent movie in its own right. It connects the past of the MCU to its future through the characters and the events that unfold, and that, my friends, is exciting after Captain America Brave New World did the same in a different way. That did it by linking like the leader, various things in the MCU past to the future of Adamantium and what that means. Whereas this sets up, and I'm obviously not going to go into spoiler territory here, but this sets up so much for what's to come. So overall, for me, Thunderbolts is in the upper tier of MCU movies. It's like that one rung below the peak of the franchise, such as Infinity War. And for me, it was an easy 4-star movie when the credits started to roll. Then the post-credit scene played. It's been a long time coming, but this post-credit scene is excellent, and the long time coming part is that it genuinely sets up a lot of potential future stories and future events. It is that good. For the longest time, the post-credit scenes, they essentially become memes. They were fun. Some of them were obviously better than others, but they had essentially become memes rather than anything pivotal to what had happened previously in the movie in question or what was to come next. In my eyes, the last two that really did what the post-credit scene of Thunderbolts did were the post-credit scenes for Age of Ultron and Thor Ragnarok, both of which involved Thanos. The Age of Ultron one is the fine, I'll do it myself, where he takes the Infinity Gauntlet and says, right, I'm going to go and get the stones. And the Thor Ragnarok one is when his ship appears in front of the escaping Asgardians. This, for me, is up there with the feeling of I can't wait to see what I've just seen here eventually leads to. This post-credit scene breathes that same rarefied air as those two Thanos ones that I mentioned, and for me, it immediately jumped Thunderbolts up from a 4-star to a 4.5-star rating for me. The quality of the post-credit scene and what it means and what it represents is half a star on its own. Is that good? So now that we are 2/3 of the way through the MCU's 2025 release schedule and have formally concluded Phase 5, the future of the franchise does seem to be bright. There were some rocky moments post-Endgame, even with the knowledge that the 1-2 punch of Infinity War and Endgame, coupled with the 10-year journey through 3 phases to reach that earned point of glory, it was unlikely to be topped. But some of Phase 4 and 5 didn't land. Some of it was excellent. Spider-Man Far From Home and Guardians of the Galaxy 3 stand out. However, we are now entering Phase 6. We have Fantastic Four on the horizon. We have Galactus and Doom ever nearer. And then the Mutant Saga is set to follow in the aftermath of the Secret Wars multiversal incursion. So we're eating good at the comic book buffet. And that's before we get to the TV and DC side of things. So all in all, there is a lot to look forward to. But that is for then, and Thunderbolts is the now. And if you haven't seen it, I recommend you do so, as it is an absolute blast, and the 2-hour runtime, it just zips by. If you have, however, seen Thunderbolts, leave your comments below with your thoughts on the movie, plus where you have it in your personal MCU rankings, but please avoid spoilers for those who haven't seen it. But that will do us for today, so please like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, have your own ragtag bunch of anti-heroes do the same, and as always, look after yourselves, look after each other, stay safe, and above all else, stay awesome. Goodbye.